Hey, this is Joe Blasco for MUA TV's Who Is Show. And today we have master makeup artist to the stars, Mr. David Deleon. We're going to be right back with David right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back, and Joe Blasco again here with you for MUA TV's Who Is Show. And as I said, we have David Deleon. David.
Hi, Joe.
Thank you so much for being here with us
me.
today. David, you are so young and so accomplished. You've done so much. But before we begin talking about your career, let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I am from Orange County, California.
No.
I am.
You grew up here in this
did.
area?
I'm a native Californian.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you used to, as a kid, would you drive into Hollywood and look at the studios?
I did.
And
I did.
So tell me about what
I did a lot of bad things as a kid, but I do a lot
in
of
retrospect,
bad things it all sort of made sense. I used to, when I could drive, when I got my license, I would drive to Hollywood thinking I would, meet the stars, and of course, they were never there. But I also, when I was in high school, I would ditch school. This is how bright I am. I would ditch school and I would go to the library that was across the street from the high school, and I would pore over makeup books, photography books. There was a book by Francesco Scavulo, who was a very famous photographer in New York, did all these beautiful before and after pictures of women, and I would just study these photos. They were before and after, black and white. A makeup artist named Way Bandy.
Yes, Way Bandy
was the artist, and I was just fascinated with the transformation. And there were monster books I would look at, and Frankenstein and all that stuff. And I was just really fascinated with the whole thing of beauty transformations, horror transformations, and the whole thing. And I didn't really know why until one day I was working on a set and I thought, oh, okay. My obsession became a career.
Right, exactly. Let me ask you this. How old were you? If you can think back to the very first moment, I can remember back to a point when I was sitting on the steps in front of a costume company store that sold theatrical makeup. And I had gone inside and I saw one of these little Halloween kits that had the nose putty and a little black crayon and a red crayon and a white crayon. And it was like, wow, what is this? Check this out. And I had pictures of somebody painting their own face, And it was at that moment that I realized that this existed, this art form. And it fascinated me because it had the before and after shots. What was your very first moment as a child when you realized that you were fascinated by makeup artistry?
Well, of course, Halloween. Every Halloween, I was always a vampire. I was terrified of vampires because when I was a little kid, there was a show called Dark Shadows.
Oh, yes.
That was a soap opera, daytime soap opera.
It was out of New York.
And they had a vampire on the show.
Yeah.
And I would, run home every day and watch it, and I was terrified. It scared the heck out of me.
But you enjoyed it.
But I loved it.
Right.
And so every Halloween, I was a vampire, and I always had a little trickle of blood, and little teeth, and the whole thing. And so, again, it was always something I loved. I loved to play, that character, and the whole thing. And when I was in high school, I actually did makeup. I was roped into doing makeup for a production of Our Town. And I had to age, 16-year-olds to look like 40 and 50-year-olds and the whole thing. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew it was really
But you
fun.
were doing it.
Yeah.
Did you read Richard Corson's book?
I didn't, but I read Vincent Kehoe's book, which was the technique of the professional makeup artist for film and television.
Right.
But it was too expensive for me to buy. I think it was at least $75.
Yeah, at least.
So I would go to the bookstore and I would visit it. I'd go once a week and I would just read a chapter and on whatever and just absorb it.
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of what I've learned was through osmosis, watching,
And now you've done makeup for the book that Vincent Kehoe and I wrote. the first volume of The Professional Makeup Artist, which we've been selling now for about 3 years. Mr. Deleon, David Deleon, is one of the very talented guest makeup artists who contributed to the book that Vincent and I wrote.
You could have knocked me over with a feather
Yeah.
when I got invited to participate in that.
Yeah, you did some beautiful work in that. Really beautiful work. I'd actually like to invite you to come back to MUA TV and to do some makeup
I'd love
for
to.
our thousands and thousands of viewers worldwide. You know what I love about this is that, and we were talking in the makeup room, is that this is not just a television broadcast that's local or even national. This is worldwide. So we are communicating now with the entire world population of makeup artists.
Wow.
The entire world population of makeup artists now know you. They know who David Deleon is. They see you, they're hearing you,
Yeah.
they're understanding, your points of view. And this is, I think this is one of the greatest things, and I'm so pleased to be like pioneering this. I think that MUA TV is now permitting all those who are interested in makeup, either as fans or as potential students of makeup artistry, to know who the names are, who the people are behind the names that they see on the screen.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it would have been like if you had been a kid, or when you were a kid and when I was a kid, to be able to turn on television? Of course, we didn't have computers then,
No.
but to turn on television and to be able to see an entire network completely dedicated to makeup artistry, to see Bill Tuttle talking, or Jack Pierce,
Yeah.
or Jack Dawn, or Gordon Bow, to see these names, Perce Westmore, to see these names that you see only in print in the credits, but to see them actually talking and expressing their ideas and their viewpoints and showing their enthusiasm and their excitement about what they do and actually demonstrating makeup. How terrific would that have been?
Amazing.
How far along would we have been if we had had that then?
Yeah.
What we had were the books. But now you've got the books and you have MUA TV. You've got the real thing sitting right here in your living room on your desk. All you have to do is sit down and find the time to watch us, right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. You grew up in Orange County, which is about, for all you people away from LA, and Orange County is what, about 25 miles southeast?
Yeah.
Southeast.
Yeah.
And who was, when you started discovering Hollywood makeup artists, was there any one makeup artist in particular that you kind of honed in on and you watched and you wanted desperately to be able to meet one day?
I think Dick Smith probably would have been
At the top of the list.
at the top of the list.
Absolutely.
Also Leonard Engelman.
Yes.
A lady named Ronnie Spector. I would watch movies and love the makeup and say, I wonder who did that.
Yes,
And
yes.
the
Well,
names
Leonard
came up
Engelman
more-
did Cher's makeup for so
Exactly.
many years.
Yeah.
He worked with, I believe he worked on some of the Rambo pictures with Sylvester Stallone. He worked with my organization for a short time. He's now working as, I believe, the director of education for the Cinema Makeup School. He's an excellent makeup artist,
Yeah.
a wonderful, he's a gentleman.
Yeah.
And Ronnie Spector is one of my graduates. And, and there's so many graduates that are out there that sometimes I lose track.
Yeah.
But you're not a graduate.
I'm not.
But you are a guest. David comes into the school and he does makeup for us. He is phenomenal with anything and everything that he does, whether it be beauty makeup or whether it be any of the character makeup. And we're always really grateful to have you come by when you do come by. Let's talk about Barbra Streisand. Can we? Can we talk about Barbra Streisand? Now, there aren't that many people that have the honor of working with Barbra, if I may call her by her first name.
Sure.
And I was actually working as an apprentice away from the studio. I wasn't part of the actual apprenticeship program that existed in the 60s. In the mid-'60s, but I did work with Ben Nye for approximately 3 years in his laboratory on Santa Monica Boulevard in Hollywood as his apprentice. I worked for him. I was a paid apprentice. And at the time that I was in his lab, he was teaching me how to make makeup. And that's where I learned my cosmetics chemistry.
Wow.
we were making the makeup for Hello, Dolly.
Oh,
Right? And I think that was Barbara's first film. I think, or may not have been. Second film.
Yeah.
Right. And I can remember mixing all of these paints and all of these, because these colors that we made for Hello, Dolly, because it was a period picture, were very pale, very light, very pristine, very clean. Very light beige, ivory toned actually, and we'd mix these colors and we'd put on there like Dolly highlight 1, Dolly shading 1, 2, or Dolly foundation medium or this and that. And I didn't really fully realize what I was doing. I was so young, and I mixed this stuff up. And then I went to see the movie Hello, Dolly. And I looked up on the screen, and I actually recognized the colors.
now do you still have them?
Oh yeah, I've got them
Yeah.
in the museum. I'll show them to you. And they are, they're still here, so people can come and visit, can see it. But it was that moment I suddenly realized, what cosmetics chemistry was all about, and making makeup, and how important it was to really, analyze the colors and to know about the film types and to know about the lighting, and to know exactly what would work and not work. So now this is, 40 years later, and you're working with Barbara Streisand.
Yep.
And what is it like?
It's wonderful. I mean, I have always been a huge fan of Barbara's. I mean, I
Yeah.
love her music and her movies, and I just think she's a tremendous talent. I got the job being her makeup artist on Meet the Fockers.
Yes.
And at that point, she hadn't done a movie in about 8 years. She had been concentrating on music and different things. And so her team that she'd worked with before, they were, retired or moved on or whatever. So they were looking for pretty much a whole team for her: makeup, hair, wardrobe.
Yes.
And I got the call from my friend Kate Blasco, who's a magnificent makeup artist. And she had the department head job. She was running the show, and they wanted, people for Barbara and people for Dustin and people for Mr. De Niro. And so they threw my name in, and I sent my portfolio, which I've always kept up. Since my first day as a student, my first day doing makeup, I always kept up my portfolio.
Yeah.
So it gradually became more and more impressive, because it was always up to date. So it was a pretty strong portfolio at that point. And she had it for about 2 weeks. And I heard, they hired the hairdresser, they hired the costume person, they hired this, and finally they called me and said, you've got the job. And I don't know if they know this or not, but the job came down to me, Leonard Engelman, and Ronnie Spector.
I love it.
Yeah, so again, everything in my life is sort of serendipitous and full circle, but not that they weren't brilliant. They were brilliant, but whatever.
Well, sometimes it's the personality.
Yeah.
Did you come in? Did you go in to meet her?
Not until after I got the job.
Oh,
I got
I
it
see.
on the
That's
strength of my
interesting.
portfolio.
On
and
the
my
strength of your
resume.
portfolio. Yeah.
And
When I say personality, I mean obviously all
Yeah.
of you have one. They all have wonderful personalities, and they're all extremely talented.
Absolutely.
But sometimes the actresses or actors rather will have a specific type of personality
Sure.
that only certain people can get along with.
well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, it's very, when you're working with an actor or actress as a personal makeup
Right.
artist, it's a lot of it is, of course, you have to have very strong, tight skills.
Absolutely.
But you also have to be very able to. What we do is we prepare people to be on camera,
Right.
and that's physical and it's also emotional.
Yes.
So you've got to be very supportive and very calm and
Yes.
very, just
Absolutely,
get them
yeah.
so where they're in a really good state to do what they do.
So your personality obviously is a very large part of the entire
Yeah.
situation. But you have to also be able to do a great makeup because if you obviously if you do a great makeup, then they emotionally are going to be on an alpha plane.
Yeah.
They're going to love what they see in the mirror. They're going to have the confidence that it takes to go out in front of the camera and to do a great job.
I always tell students when I lecture, you don't want Barbra Streisand or Tom Cruise or any of the giant stars early in your career. You really, by the time you get to that
Right.
level of
Right.
person, not that they're not lovely people, they are, but you have to have such strong skills that if
Absolutely.
you're nervous,
That's
if
right.
you're
Right.
not steady on your feet, your hand still knows exactly what to
Right,
do.
because
you
they
know?
are so strong.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they are so strong, and that strength requires another strong artist to work with.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's very
Great.
important too to know, know your stuff, have very strong technique, so that when a great artist like that asks you questions, or what are you doing,
Right.
what are you planning, you have answers.
What foundation do you use? Let's talk about the products that
Yeah.
you use on Barbra Streisand.
For the movie, it was very funny because she had always worn heavier foundations.
This is for Meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers,
Yes.
And the cameras now move much faster. They
Yes.
move at a much faster speed, so they pick up much more detail.
Right.
I'm going off, the top of my head, but
it's the film. It's the
yeah,
film type.
the film
right?
stock. So you can
The
have a
emulsion.
candle,
Right.
lit, and that can be a light source. now.
Absolutely, right.
Whereas in the old days, they almost blew everyone's features out,
Right.
so you had to paint back in a lot of
Exactly.
highlights and shadows and things, so that they had structure to their face. But at one point, I had her in a tinted moisturizer. Because we were doing tight close-ups. She has
yes.
beautiful skin.
Yes.
And it was a nice sort of veil for
Yes.
her skin. But it's if it's beautiful, you want to see it.
Absolutely.
So
you don't need to hide it anymore. You don't
No.
need to cover it. And I can remember, using heavy, cake foundations and, for coverage and
Yeah.
for this and for that, and going darker, much, much darker, because the makeups were bombarded with so much light.
yeah.
But now the film stock itself, the chemical emulsions that make up each frame of film, those chemicals react to the light so quickly, that it picks up greater detail. And so everything reproduces much more accurately. It's like HD, high
yeah,
definition,
absolutely.
and but even more so in film. So you're absolutely right. You're lucky she's got great skin.
beautiful skin.
Just beautiful skin.
Yeah.
What about eye makeup? Tell us about the products you use for eyes.
When I met
And,
Barbra,
and not only about the products that you use, everybody out there would love to know not only what products you use on Barbra Streisand, but also how you go about doing the application. What do you do first? What colors in the eyes? And is there anything special that definitely that needs to be done to her eyes differently than you would do to some other actor?
well, someone like Barbra Streisand, like Sophia Loren, or any iconic lady like that, very early in their careers, they had a makeup set for them
Yes.
by themselves, and usually a makeup person.
Yes.
I know Barbara, when she was 19, there was a man named, I think, Bob Schulberg, who was a hairdresser and artist
In New York?
in New York, and he sat her down and analyzed her face and designed a makeup
A
with
look.
the Egyptian
look,
eyeliner and the
yes.
pale lips and the
Yes.
very beautiful 60s sort of thing. So she's always kind of kept that look throughout her whole career.
Yes.
Modified it, of course,
Yes.
where it's more appropriate to whatever decade she's living in. But
It's so much more natural now.
it's
Her
more
look
natural,
is
but it's
very natural.
It's the same design.
Yes.
It's a beautiful
But softer.
eyeliner. It's a nice pale mouth that's sculpted and pretty blush and everything. It's not a real super complicated makeup, but when you're working with someone like that, probably the worst thing you can do is to try and change them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the audience is used to seeing them a certain way, they're used to seeing themselves a certain way. So my job is to have them see themselves the best possible way that
Yeah,
they can.
yes.
So I don't want to go in and say, well, we're going to do red lips on you, and we're going to do
Yes.
unless it's a totally character-driven
For
thing.
character, exactly.
You want to do the best job at the look that they have, that they've ever seen, so they'll keep you around.
Now, what did she say to you when you first met her? Tell us about the circumstances.
She, I went to her home, and I met her, and we sat at her makeup table,
Yeah.
and she said, I want to show you what I do. And she sat in front of the mirror and she did her makeup for me, step by step, the base, the eye, everything.
Yes.
And she said, now this is what I do. She said, I want to see what you do. so I came back the next week with my makeup kit, and I made her up, and she was obviously pleased, obviously because I worked with her again, and we decided to sort of, you know, she would do part of it, I would do part of it,
Yes.
we'd do it together. Sometimes
Yes.
I'd do the whole thing.
Well, what did it look like when she did it?
It was beautiful.
Like a street makeup, a makeup for street, or was she was showing you how she did a film makeup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her makeup. And it really
What
does
products
translate well.
was she using?
There was
Estee Lauder,
Senna.
Lancome, Senna.
Senna, which is a company based in Los Angeles. They
Yes.
do custom blend makeup, so
Yes.
she had some really beautiful different
Yes.
tones. That
Liquids.
were made for her.
Liquid
yes.
makeup.
Liquid makeup. And we would do, you know, just a nice shimmery shadow on the lid and a
Yes.
good, strong kind of winged out contour
Yes.
and the eyeliner, which
Yes.
is a cake eyeliner.
Yeah.
It was, again, it's not a real, that, like you said, it's
Yeah.
very natural, very pretty. It's not a super complicated makeup.
Honestly-
it's just well blended,
Yeah, because-
well applied.
When I remember her from Funny Girl, you know, from Hello Dolly, I mean, from all the earlier films that she did. I think Don Cash, or one of the Cash brothers, they were doing, this fellow was doing her makeup. I think so. Or at least he started to do her makeup, and then someone else came in. But I don't know what the story was on that. But I know a lot of politics go on in this business. But I do know that whoever was working with her here in Hollywood really was having to follow a specific
Yeah.
look. Now,
Yeah.
now I know that look was created by the makeup artist you mentioned from
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
What is his name again?
I believe it's Bob Schulberg.
Schulberg.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then that look carried through on so many of
Yes,
her films.
absolutely.
Now, when I saw her on the film that you did with her, Meet the Folkers, I looked, and she looked so young and so smooth and so flawless and so natural. And it was so, you say that it was the same style and the same kind of application, but it was so perfectly and blended that it wasn't that same hard, harsh Barbra Streisand eye
Yeah.
that I remember from
Yeah.
all the other films that I had seen, which almost was kind of a character makeup. It was almost as though she was hiding behind that makeup. But now, with this more natural makeup, you got to see really how beautiful she is. You know,
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing that, and if you tell me if you agree or disagree, that it's important when you're working on mature women, as she is, that you don't want to use a lot of powder, you don't want to use heavy makeup, you don't want to overdo the eye makeup, and it's exactly what you did. You did a flawlessly beautiful natural makeup.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I was very impressed with
Well,
it.
I started, when I professionally started doing makeup, I started in salons. And so I did weddings and makeovers and makeup lessons. And
Right.
I had the opportunity to work with women of every age,
Right.
from teenage to grandmothers. So I really, and it was a
Right.
volume, you know, an amount. I worked with
I
Ida
know
Gray.
where you're going. I know where he's going with this.
Ida Gray in Beverly Hills.
We both worked with,
Yeah.
you know where I started with Ida Gray? She had a small little makeup shop in the Beverly Wilshire Hotel.
Yeah.
When you walked, when you walked into the hotel, it was to the right. Now, you probably worked with her, because you're much younger than me. You worked with her when she was across the street from the Beverly Wilshire, right? Up the street?
Yes.
On the
Yes.
north side.
Yep.
Right.
On Wilshire and Rodeo.
Right. Tell me about your experiences with. I could tell you about mine, but it's not about me, and it's not about my experiences. You tell us. You tell the world about Ida Gray.
Miss Gray was a cosmetician and chemist.
Yes.
And she had a line of products that were, a lot of them were natural-based
Yes.
products. A lot of skincare. There were
Yes.
masks, there were ampules, there were scrubs, there were,
Yes.
very much, pretty much ahead of her time.
Did she have the Desquimalt peel?
Yes.
That was hers.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
remarkable
enzyme
product.
peels, Descamol peels. There was a lot of real.
I used to use that to create like weathered effects and sunburn peeling skin.
Yeah.
Never mind, we won't go there. Go ahead.
Exactly.
But-
But yeah, she had this beautiful salon in Beverly Hills, and I was very young when I worked for her, and went in, and I remember she would only let me do eyebrows for 2 months. That's all I did was
Right.
eyebrows, and it had to be it was
Certain
called
way.
angel wings.
Yes.
Thicker arch, go out thinner, and kick
Yes.
up at the ends.
Yes.
And that's all she would let me do. She said, I know you know how to do makeup, but I want you to learn brows.
Yes.
So I learned brows.
And you would fill it. She liked it all filled
Yeah.
in, all
Yeah.
filled in. No,
And-
no individual little hairs or any.
No.
It was all filled.
Yeah.
in. You could almost take a template, and put a template on it. Just do this, and that was the kind of the look that she liked.
Yeah.
And was looking for.
Yeah.
I remember a makeup artist that worked there. At the time, she was a very strong woman with red auburn hair. I can't remember her name. Do you remember this artist?
Was she
was-
German?
No.
Okay, there's a lady named Marion when I worked there. There was this tall, beautiful redhead lady that was.
Did she have an accent?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think this woman had an accent.
Yeah.
But I can remember her watching me do my first test for her.
Yeah.
And when I did the makeup, and I've discussed this on one of the other interviews, where I did the makeup, highlighting and shading and all this and that, and she said, you see, he's from television. He's from television. He does all this highlighting and shading. And then when I went to do the eye makeup, I did a real soft, natural kind of nothing eye makeup that was real fine eye, like a clean beauty makeup. And she said, see, he's from television. That won't do.
She was a character.
Oh, she was wonderful.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, you're going to be my Pablo, Pablo from Red One. She says, I'm going to teach you how to do eye makeup, And, but now, did she do that with you? I mean, she put you through 2 months.
2 months. 2 months
of
of
eyebrows.
eyebrows, yeah.
Then what?
And then I graduated to makeup, and I would actually do her makeup. She would come in the morning, and she would put a mask on.
She really trusted you.
She'd have her hair done. I'd do her makeup.
Yes.
She'd have her nails done, and then she and her husband would go next door to what was the restaurant? There was a restaurant next door, and they would go for lunch.
Yes.
She was in her 80s at that point,
see,
and had gorgeous skin.
Yeah.
Beautiful skin.
I worked with her 30 years before.
Yeah.
Outside of eyebrows, what did you learn from the lady politically about the industry?
She was a great salesman. And she was always sort of ahead of her time. Like
Yes.
now I work with people and I see that sort of style, and it's like, wow, Miss Gray did that 20, 30 years ago.
right.
She could sell anything to anyone.
Yes.
And, again, her products were great.
Yes.
But
A lot of them were manufactured in France.
yeah,
And then there was also a company here in town that manufactured some of her liquid products, but they were all done to her specifications. And I can remember, her going down to this one company. I can't remember the name of it, but she would go down and she would talk to them. They would come sometimes to the salon, and they'd bring certain colors, and then she would mix them, and she'd say, "This is what I want,"
yeah.
But she knew exactly what she wanted
Yeah,
for that line.
absolutely.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
But I wasn't ready for sales.
I'm not
See?
I'm not much of a salesman.
Yeah.
I don't like to, and that's, I guess, why I wasn't such a great success in salons. But I don't like to sell people things they don't
Yeah,
need.
but see, when I went to her, it was kind of like a Band-Aid on my career. It was like a little,
Yeah.
it was like a bridge.
Yeah.
And I went and I worked there, and I thought, well, at least I'll be able to do makeup, right? Until I can get into ABC or CBS or whatnot or films. And I honestly, when I was put through this vigorous training program of how to sell this product, sell, it kind of turned me off.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to do makeup. I
Exactly.
don't want to sell.
Yeah.
But then I realized as I got older, obviously, I now have a cosmetics line, how how important, it is to be able to sell, especially when you've got a good product.
Yeah.
She was proud of her product.
Absolutely.
As I am of mine, and as others who own,
Sure.
cosmetic lines are proud of their products and their
Absolutely.
developments. So you do have to understand how to sell what you believe in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great training ground. I mean, there were every ethnicity, every age
Yes.
would come through that door,
Yes.
and I learned, how to think on my feet,
Yes.
how to do corrective beauty makeup, how to do, so many different styles of makeup, and it was a great training ground.
Yes.
And I remember, I tell students this too, when I worked in salons, I worked also at a place called Christopher's Salon in Orange County, which is a very upscale, beautiful salon also. Whenever someone would sit in my chair, I would pretend they were somebody famous.
Yes.
It didn't matter who. I mean, I would pretend they were Julia Roberts or Marilyn Monroe or whatever. Any feature they had that looked like somebody, I would pretend. And what that does is it sort of, if Julia Roberts is sitting in your chair, your posture is a little bit better.
Yeah.
You're attentive.
Yes.
You're alert. And you're going to do the best possible job you can do.
Yeah.
You're not going to slough off.
You're going to be the best professional that you can be.
So by the time movie stars actually were sitting in my chair, I was ready.
You had it down.
I knew how to,
Right.
really how to do a great makeup, number one, and how to present and hold myself,
Yes.
so that people did feel comfortable around me. They did feel relaxed, and that they didn't have to worry about me. They just could focus on what they were doing, which is acting, which is,
Yes.
a tough job.
Yes.
Um,
See, I had to gradually evolve.
yeah.
Because when I was at ABC Television, or at CBS, they would put dancers in my chair.
Sure.
And then if I did a really good job, and they recognized that, then or if an actress or actor, as we say now, I'm dating myself.
I still like actors.
I'm dating myself. I do too. and would go to the department head and say, I've been watching him do the dancers' makeups, and I'd really like him to do my makeup.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would gradually elevate, from
Sure.
one level to the next level to the next level. But what you did that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's terrific. That's great. And one thing about working at the Ida Gray Salon and working in any top salon, I think, is that, especially if it's a top salon, a high-rated salon, you're going to be making up women that are, of high society, the elite of the community.
Yeah.
And especially in Beverly Hills.
Yes.
And you are going to be making up celebrities
Yes.
as well, because she was very famous, Ida Gray.
There's a very funny story, though. Madonna came, this was in the 80s. Madonna came in the salon, and I think she got her facial done or something, and was going up to the counter to pay her bill, and Miss Gray was up there. And she said, I need to see some ID. And Madonna said, I'm Madonna. And she said, I'm not a fan. I need to see some ID. So she was kind of tough, but I mean, she had
She
people,
was tough.
like Marlene Dietrich and huge,
I worked with Marlene
huge
Dietrich
stars
once,
came through
yes,
that
yes.
place. So
Yes, she was there. Marlene Dietrich, she was something. There were all of the elite, all of the biggest stars, celebrities of Hollywood, in Beverly Hills. And I'm not talking just about people who are gracing the silver screen or who are television celebrities. I'm talking about the wives of bankers and the wives of, the studio moguls would go to Ida Gray.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So again, it was a great training ground. It toughened me up, and it.
Right. How long were you there?
I was there probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I before I went to Hollywood, I thought you had to be so great. So I practiced.
Boy, didn't you learn quick.
No, there's great artists
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hollywood, but I thought you had to be.
Now, you've already said it.
Dick
It's too
Smith
late
when
now.
you stepped through the door. I thought you had to be that good. I didn't know you could be, pretty good.
Right, right.
Really good.
And,
I thought
when
had to
you,
be the best.
and the 3200 Kelvin lighting would kind of
Exactly.
even everything out and make everything look good.
So I remember, working in salons, and my clients would say, you really should work in Hollywood.
Right.
And I was like, I'd love to. I have no idea how. I have no idea where to go, what to do. But
Wait a minute, you went to Hollywood. And when you were a kid, you were looking at all the studios.
I didn't know how. I didn't know how. I thought you just knocked on the door and said, "Here I am."
So how did you make the transition from the salon into the? Was there a specific makeup artist that you contacted?
No specific makeup artist, but little opportunities started to happen where.
Who was the first? Who did you work for? The first professional
actually,
film or television job that you had?
Well, actually, I went to the theater first.
You did?
I went from salons to the theater, and I was the makeup artist at Long Beach Civic Light Opera, and I designed Follies, Stephen Sondheim's Follies, and La Cage aux Folles.
Yes.
And that was the first professional show jobs that I had, which were thrilling. And then from
if
there,
you were working at La Cage aux Folles, you were working with my products.
I was.
Boy, I'll tell you, they loved the high pigmented foundation.
Oh, sure.
And I remember going to see La Cage aux Folles. I was on La Cienega, I think, that was playing.
This is the Jerry Herman musical.
This was
the play.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a little different.
Yeah. Well, not really. I mean, the makeup would be kind of the same.
Right. And I can recall going to see this, and somebody saw my credit card when I paid for the ticket, and they went, "Oh, Joe Blasco's here." So right in the middle of the show, they stopped the show, and they turned and they put the spotlight on me, and they say, or they put the spotlight on the person who was the host of the show, and they said, "We'd like to at this moment introduce someone for without this man, none of us would be who we are." Of course, La Cage aux Folles, right? And I thought, "Oh God, no, not this!" And they put the spotlight on me, and I had to stand up. They said, "Mr. Joe Blasco, the man who makes all the makeup we use." But La Cage aux Folles that you did was the actual play, La Cage aux Folles.
Yes.
Tell me about that. That was exciting.
Fun. A friend of mine was a dancer in the show, and he called me up and he said, "We have to do our own makeup, and I have never put makeup on, let alone drag makeup. I have no idea what to do. Come help me." And I said, "Okay." So I came and I made him up, and we took pictures, and he actually took the pictures into the producers, and they said, maybe we should hire this guy to design the show.
Right.
Because in theater, a lot of times a makeup artist will come in and design the show.
Yes.
A lot of the performers will make themselves up, and
Yes.
sometimes you'll make up the lead performers or, for special things.
That's normally how it is.
Yeah. So I designed the show with all the male dancers, and then I was responsible for the lead actor that played Zaza. And we had to do, I think there was a quick change that was something like 36 seconds. He had to go from straight makeup to full drag, hair, wardrobe, the whole thing, backstage. So, I mean, theater is just one of the most phenomenal things you can ever work in. It's just the energy and the artistry, it's wonderful. But from there, I literally started at the bottom of Hollywood. I mean, I worked student films. I worked no budget, low budget, where I wasn't paid, where I was paid. My first movie, there were 8 principal characters. I did the makeup and the hair, and made them all up, just me. I didn't have an assistant, I didn't have a second, nothing. It was just me. I was the hair and makeup department.
But isn't it going to that more and more? Isn't there more and more makeup and hair artists? Or how's the union, Local 706?
Local 706, you have to be one or the other.
One or the other,
You can't
right?
do both hair and makeup, which I look back on that, and personally, makeup is hard enough.
Yes,
hair
it
is hard
certainly
enough.
is, right.
I mean, the concentration you have to really create
To jump
a
from one to
character.
the other, or to do the same. By
Yeah, by the time I'm done with the makeup, I'm tired. I don't want to do it.
Out,
I
right?
don't want to do a full
Especially with
hairstyle.
a big cast.
So, but that's where I started, and just really, literally, the movies got a little better, the
Right.
TV shows got a little better, and it wasn't like I went from 0 to hero. I went from 0 to 10 to
Yes.
20 to and
Yes.
really kind of. And I'm glad, because I really learned my craft.
Yes.
And I also went to a school, the Learning Tree.
The Learning Tree.
The Learning Tree.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
why I chose the Learning Tree and not this school, but anyways, it was fine. It was great. And I met.
Well, obviously you did pretty darn good.
Well, I met Todd
It's
McIntosh.
all about, we're going to be,
Who's a
Todd
genius.
McIntosh is going to be on our show as
Yeah.
well.
He was one of my instructors, and he's a genius.
And you
really-
worked with Todd on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, did you not?
I did. I day played on Buffy. I actually did the show Angel, which was a spin-off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I
the
see.
First 2 seasons.
I see.
And that was my first big TV show. And by
Right.
big, I mean, long hours.
So you met Todd at the Learning Tree,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey kid,
Yeah.
I really like what I see. You've got
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah.
Why don't you come work for me?"
Well, it wasn't even that. It was, why don't you show me what you can do? So
Right.
I would go in my garage and grab a friend and do a makeup, and I would, show him the pictures. And he'd
Yes.
say, that's good, but you should try this and do that.
Yes.
And I didn't work with Todd until I got in the union.
Really?
Yeah, and then it was just very briefly. Now we work together on Pushing
It's
Daisies.
because he does all union shows, obviously.
Yeah, and he was the union artist when I
Right,
met him. So,
right.
but he's definitely been an incredible mentor, and
Yes.
I've had
And-
the opportunity to work with all of my idols at this point.
Yes. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I think back, some of the names of the people that I was so fortunate to be able to rub shoulders with through those years. And one day, even now, you can think back and know that you learned so much from others that have come before you.
Absolutely.
But the most important thing, and the thing that I love about MUA-TV and what we're doing right now is that the world can see who the young people are in the industry. And I consider you one of the young people.
Thank you.
Okay. And you are, you and other young makeup artists in this business are the future of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have learned from the old timers and what you've been able to readapt from that education, and with the advent of new products and new techniques because of those new products, you are the people, the young people, who are going to take this, and run with it. And this is what I find so exciting about MUA-TV is that we can show not only all the old timers and the pioneers who are still with us to the world, but we can introduce the young makeup artists of the industry to the world. So when they see the name David Deleon, they'll know exactly who that person is.
Great.
Yeah. We're gonna stop right now just for a second. Do you mind? We're gonna cut.
No,
We'll
no.
be right back. We're gonna stop just for a few words. Don't go away. We'll be right back with David Deleon right after this. This is Joe Blasco. Welcome back. We are visiting with Mr. David Deleon. David, this has been such a great interview.
Thank
And
you.
you are
It has.
so
It's been so
interesting.
fun.
Yeah, it has. What I've noticed and what we were talking about during this break is that so many of the people that I've interviewed somewhat go through the same evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it's because...
Well, I think it means more to you if you've had sort of a long road.
Right.
First of all, it really does solidify your skills.
Yes.
Number one, you can't do great makeup right out the gate.
Yes,
And if
but-
you're talented, you
but
can't.
Don't you think, and this is what I understood from what you said, that it's if you love it,
Yeah.
if you love the art of makeup, and I can remember when I was a kid, I lived and breathed makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know, because I was from this little farm town, I didn't know that the Richard Corson stage makeup book could be bought. All right, I didn't know that there were bookstores. There were no bookstores in the city I grew up in.
No.
Just a library.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this book, Stage Makeup, Richard Corson. What's going to happen when I graduate from this school? I was at junior high school. I found it in the library. When I leave and I have to go to the high school, oh, maybe it'll be in that library. But then what's going to happen when I graduate? I'm not going to have this book. So what I did as a kid, and I ended up one time telling Richard Corson this. Oh, what a great moment that was. And telling him that I literally would hide the Richard Corson stage makeup book, because it was a small book. Mm-hmm. I would hide it within the confines of my larger geography book. And I would hold the geography book up like this, and I would have the Richard Corson book in the geography book.
Yeah.
So all through my geography class was my makeup. That was my makeup class. And what I did was I actually copied and I drew. I drew every picture of all of the charts, like the noses, the different kinds of noses, and the charts of the facial planes, and you know, the aging charts and all this and that. And I drew them all and I showed them to him. And I said, "Look at this, Richard.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know that I could buy your book, and I was so in love with it, and I didn't want to lose the book, so that I copied everything. I actually drew everything."
I used to
And
always
that's the
draw.
love.
I used to draw faces in school. I would just draw them and sometimes add makeup and add things, but I was always really fascinated with
Yeah,
faces.
absolutely, absolutely.
So
Well, what are you working on now?
I'm working on Pushing Daisies.
Pushing
show.
Daisies.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Oh, it's great. Tell us about it. How did you get this job?
Well, I was doing a movie in Vancouver with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I was her makeup artist on that. And there was a man named Lee Pace who was the lead actor, and he said to Sarah and I, I did this pilot for the show. I want to show it to you guys. I think it's really going to be good. And so he showed us the pilot, and I was just blown away. It's unlike anything
It's very
that's
unique.
ever been on television or is on television. It's it's rich and beautiful and vibrant and technicolor colors, and we're doing period. Everything we do is period based. So our lead girl is in the 1960s, and her aunts are the 1930s and the 1950s, and we kind of mix it all up.
Isn't that fun?
To make it sort of timeless looking. But anyway, so he showed us this pilot. I was blown away, and I said, I really would love to work on this. And it just sort of turned out that Todd McIntosh, who was doing his makeup on that movie, and myself ended up doing the series.
So you're working with Todd.
With Todd, yeah, my
And
mentor.
is he the department head on
He
it?
is, yeah.
Your mentor.
Yeah, I'm the key. And we have
That's
also
fantastic.
Steven Anderson is working with us also. He's also a wonderful makeup artist. And it's playtime every day. We're just doing beautiful glamour makeups and effects makeups and characters. And
What time do you start in the morning?
anywhere from 5:30 to 8 on a Monday, and then it just depends as the week goes.
Are you working in a makeup trailer, or are
Yes.
you working in a makeup department?
We're
in the
at
building?
Warner Brothers Studio, and we have a makeup trailer there.
Yes, yes. Is it the Pegasus, the new Pegasus
No,
trailer?
it's not the Pegasus.
No, shame on you guys.
I wish it was
Shame
the
on you
Pegasus.
guys. Jeff
Yeah,
Don has got this incredible makeup trailer.
They have it on Desperate Housewives.
Oh,
I day played
see?
over there. for
Those
a few
women aren't
days,
going to
and
let the production company get away
Wow.
with no shoddy little four walls.
That's the
Bring us the Pegasus. You bet.
amazing trailer.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, I very much have trailer envy.
Yeah. Jeff Don, who is, I believe, the grandchild of the famous Jack Don,
Jack Don, yeah.
who was the head of makeup at MGM, who did the makeup for The Wizard of Oz. Jeff, and he also did Terminator. He did Arnold Schwarzenegger's makeup and so many fantastic films and effects makeups. Has developed this incredible trailer. It's called the Pegasus, and he has spoken to our producer, and I believe he's actually going to be giving us a tour of the Pegasus.
It's amazing.
You should talk your production company.
Yeah. I think there's only 2 in Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, he'll be happy to build another one.
That'd be
for you.
great. We'd love it. We'll take it. Yeah, it's an amazing trailer.
That's great. Listen, there's so much more that we can talk about, but we're going to save this for another interview.
All right.
All right, and I'm sure that our audience agrees with me in saying, that you are definitely passionate about what you do and one of Hollywood's most talented young makeup artists.
Thank you very much,
David,
Joe.
thank you so much
Pleasure.
for being
Thank you.
here. And I want to thank you very much for being out there worldwide with me today and Mr. David Deleon. And David's going to be back on another episode in approximately 1 to 2 weeks. So be sure to tune in then. This is Joe Blasco for MUA TV. You stay tuned for more makeup artist programming.